Hi, my name is Caitlin Hughes. I'm currently the features editor of the Duquesne Duke, the student newspaper at Duquesne University. I'm a Bethel Park graduate. I graduated in 2022. And I'm also the president of the Society of Professional Journalists at Duquesne.
My name is Eliyahu Gasson. I am currently the opinions editor at the Duquesne Duke and the vice president of the Society of Professional Journalists at Duquesne.
My name is Josh Imhoff. I'm a journalism major, and I'm currently a staff writer at the Duquesne Duke, and I am the secretary of the Society of Professional Journalists.
I'm a junior at Duquesne. I don't know if I said that, but last summer, I was a freelancer for the Tribune Review. Freelancing is a really good way to get started in journalism. I would just get light stories. I would cover city council meetings, different feature stories, so different events around town or people doing cool things in the community, and you get paid per story, and it was just a good way to get my foot in the door at the Trib. I'm currently doing an internship at the Pittsburgh Magazine, so I work in their home and design section. I'll write about homes and stuff, and then this summer I will be interning with the Tribune Review. I've covered, between the Duke and all those publications, I've covered numerous things between feature stories, news stories, and all that. I think when you go to college, if you do have a journalism program, I think it's great to tap in to your newspaper. It brings you so many cool places. I got to speak to Governor Shapiro one time and former Senator Bob Casey. I just spoke to Corey O'Connor recently, who's running for mayor in the city of Pittsburgh. But that's those are more high-profile things. I've done we do arts and entertainment stories, so we go to different shows and events and Broadway shows they're doing, and it's really cool and a really good resource, and it gives you professional experience. We have some of our newspapers, we could probably pass them around if you want. And we try and operate at a professional level. So we work with Paula Reed Ward, who works for the Trib currently. She's the court reporter there. She's actually a Pulitzer Prize winner. So every Wednesday night, we'll go in and she'll review our work and give us edits and give us feedback on what we should do better and what could have been done and advice and everything. And we are able to, we've had award-winning stories. I know you're nominated for a Quills and stuff, but I'll pass it over to Eliyahu with his experience.
Yeah, I've been writing for the Duke since my sophomore year. I was originally an environmental science major, but I switched to journalism. Then I got involved in the student newspaper, sort of by accident, but it's been wonderful. Last summer, I had an internship with the Butler Eagle up north, covering a lot of community news in Butler County. Speakers would come to the library, or, they have an annual Jeep festival, so I'd write previews for that. And this semester, I have an internship with Next Generation Newsroom, which is a teaching newsroom out of Point Park University. We're also a part of the Pittsburgh Media Partnership, which shares stories in the 10-county media region in southwestern Pennsylvania, so publications like the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Pittsburgh Union Progress, WESA, the NPR station. I suppose that's all I have to. It's great. It's a lot of work, but it's really fun. I guess just getting stories out, getting published, means a whole lot.
So I kind of just started writing stories this past fall semester. I went into the newsroom on a whim. Caitlin was actually the first person I met at the newsroom, and Eliyahu was the second. They were both extremely welcoming, as is kind of the environment in the newsroom at Duquesne. Everyone kind of helps each other out, and it's very goal-oriented with just wanting to write the best stories possible and helping everyone grow. In my experience, in my short time writing, I've gotten to cover a lot of really cool things that I wouldn't have been able to be exposed to if not. I've talked to football players, I've gone to protests, I've covered stuff with politics. It's just really interesting because as I've been doing that, I've also learned a lot just about myself and about what's going on in the world around me, which I think is really important just for everyone to be educated on what's going on around them. As for internships and stuff like that, I haven't had an internship yet, but this summer I'm going to be writing for the Indiana Gazette in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get there yet or if I'm going to be staying there or not, but it should be a really good experience writing for a news outlet, a professional one, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And to kind of add more about the work we do at the Duquesne Duke, I think all of us currently are journalism majors that work there, I'm pretty sure, which definitely helps the level of quality of work we produce. But I know throughout the past, like, you don't have to be a journalism major to do that. And I think it's important, like what Josh was saying, like to get that real world experience and get to learn learn about the people in your communities and share that with others. And writing is a tool that you need to have like all throughout your life. I mean, depending on your profession, obviously, but the skills we learn at the newspaper will carry us all throughout life, whether we take the path of journalism or not. So currently, Paula Reed Ward, the Pulitzer Prize winner I mentioned previously, is teaching an investigative reporting class because we have a lot of good experience as journalists at Duquesne. You will get great experience as a nurse if you do go there. But currently, we're doing an investigative reporting class, and Paula she went to school for journalism at IUP, but then she went back and to grad school and studied, I think it was like criminology, because she was like a cop reporter for some time, and now she's a courts reporter. So she covers crime in the courts. If you look up her name, Paula Reed Ward, she works for the Tribune Review. I think you would find her stories to be very interesting. But she's teaching an investigative reporting class right now, and we're focusing on felony murder in Pennsylvania. So we're actually I'm speaking to this man named Philip. He's been incarcerated for 30 years because the sentence for felony murder is life without parole, no matter what, because felony murder is basically like if you're committing a felony and someone else is murdered or dies on the scene, you're sentenced to felony murder and mandatory life without parole. And it's actually in the Supreme Court right now, so that's why it's relevant. But so if you are going into criminology, maybe journalism would be like a good segue to learn about that, or you can translate that into a journalism career if you wanted, because we do work with crime, and I've gotten a lot of experience. Like I've talked to lawyers, I've talked to Philip, obviously, who is incarcerated, his family members, and I've talked to advocacy groups about this, and I've learned so much about it without even getting a degree in criminology, and I get to tell people about it and share their stories.
I took investigative reporting with Paula Ward as well a year ago, and we were covering exonerated inmates. So a lot of us got to, there was a lot of going through court records, learning how to, interpret those, find what's important, what's not important, and then getting familiar with the legal system and with the county record system and the state record system, and then also speaking to lawyers and to those exonerated inmates, and then writing the story. I think mine ended up being about 3,000 words. People's attentions are very fickle, I'm sure you know. Like, people aren't great at paying attention to things unless it's super interesting. So a big component of writing a story is finding the most important information and relaying it in the most interesting way you can. I mean, you are really telling a story. So I think for all of you, if you just want to do a journalism course in college or get more familiar with the craft, it could help you, whether you're going into forensics or you just want to be a fiction writer, a creative writer. I think it can really help you figure out, what are the most important details to add to keep people's attention and to convey a compelling story. Yeah, and it is very much a learning process, like learning how to communicate effectively, trust other people, work with them. And it's also the case when you go out to interview sources for your story. You wanted to?
I know recently one of the things that I was the most impressed by in the newsroom was the 100 article that you have right there. Yeah, this year we had our 100th anniversary, and so for the edition, we did a bunch of really cool stories that happened historically throughout Duquesne's history. We did like a story about how the newspaper used to get made. The newspaper was printed at IUP for a little bit because of a little scandal thing that happened, so we covered that a little bit too, and everyone came together for that. Like even the staff writers were like a big part of it, and all the editors were like, you guys are working till like midnight, right? Even later probably. 3, yeah. It was really, I checked out by then because I didn't have anything left to do, but they were working hard. They were editing all the stories and they were putting their pages together and everything, and everyone was like at each other's desks helping out, like, yo, hey, does this look good? Hey, should I change this? Hey, should I change that? Like, how can we make this better? And everyone was extremely proud of it. And as someone who is newer to journalism, it was just, I felt very much like I was in the right place at that time because it was really interesting to see how much people cared about that. And how much they care about what they write. And then kind of going along with what Eliyahu said about kind of working as a team and learning to do that. It's important to learn to trust others, but it's also important to learn to trust yourself and your own skills and really work on developing like what makes you kind of thing, what skills you're good at. And you can find that in like everyday life. Like, are you good at talking to people? Are you good at writing? Are you good at kind of data analysis, like, oh, where should this go in the story kind of thing, picking up little details here and there, like you're at the grocery store, you remember a face or something someone said. So all that stuff plays in, and just really trusting yourself to be able to be part of that team and add something of value is really important.
Yeah, and beyond it just being like teamwork and work all the time, we're all like best friends. Like we have our production night every Wednesday night, so we'll go in and put our pages on InDesign and print them out and edit them, and it's my favorite night of every week. Like we are there till 1, 2 a.m. just goofing off, laughing, and I've just met some of the greatest people that I know I'll stay in contact with for the rest of my life. So it's just beyond just the professional experience and the work and the skills you build. It's friendship, and it's a great experience, and I think it's something you guys should definitely, if you are going to college, like whether it be the newspaper or just another club, definitely take advantage of the opportunities your school offers for you, because when you graduate, you don't have them anymore. And while you are at that school, like there's so many opportunities at every college campus that are definitely worth your while. But yeah, it's great. But going into more why like journalism is important just in our society, besides like educating people, obviously I think it is like we are kind of the mouthpiece of the people, and we give people voices who might not have their own. We get stories out that you guys might not know if journalists didn't tell them. But we're the fourth estate. So they say it's like we're keeping the people in power in check and keeping people accountable for what they're supposed to be doing.
Just to like kind of explain the fourth estate concept, we have our government has a system of checks and balances. I'm sure you've heard of that. So we have the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. Those are your 3 estates. And then there are journalists, independent journalists empowered by the First Amendment, who act as another check on the government. That's the concept. So if the government is doing something that is not beneficial to the population, or might even be, unconstitutional, and no other estate is checking the other, the reports that journalists make are supposed to account for that. But that also applies on the state and even local or hyper-local level. There's also the element of course, educating people. You see that a lot with community journalism, which is what I like to do. So giving people a sense of what's happening in their community, or for sports journalism, right? Letting people know, or letting fans know, like how did the game go? What are the stats? Publishing those for a certain team, and then again on here we have investigative reporting, which is what Caitlin and I did for our classes, is sort of covering stories about people who have gone through the legal system and how it's affected them, how they've dealt with it.
And sometimes even there's investigative reporting stories that uncover things that aren't known. Like from the class, we had to Watergate. Yes, Watergate. Who knows of Watergate? Yes. So Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, they were able to piece together the puzzles of that. If you guys haven't seen it already, I would recommend watching All the President's Men. I think it's pretty accurate. I don't know exactly how accurate, but it just kind of shows the story of what it's like as a journalist uncovering something. And we had to read stories for our investigative reporting class, and there was one telling the story of like immigrant workers who were minors working in dangerous conditions in these factories, and it was able to hold those factories accountable and like educate people on something you might not even realize what is going on. How about we can send our contact to Mr. Alamang if you have any questions, or we have an Instagram, DUQSPJ, if you want to DM us if you have any questions. Just let us know. But thank you for coming, guys.